The United States Army has a lot of traditions, some pretty crazy ones that I definitely want to talk about, and this video is sponsored by Grunt Style. More on them a little bit later and how you get an awesome deal. But first, I'm U.S. Army veteran Christopher Chaos, and let's talk about some crazy traditions that we do in the United States Army. What's up, my friends? Welcome to a brand new video. Today, we're here to talk about some pretty crazy traditions. There's a lot of things that we do as soldiers, things that we do in the Army that maybe an outsider might think is pretty crazy, but they're tradition. They're things that we do, things we've done for a long time, and probably things we will continue to do for a long time in the Army. If that's what you're here to learn about is the United States Army, you better be subscribed, you better be hitting that thumbs up button, and let's dive into things. I got 6. Why 6? I don't know. There's just 6 that I just found that were great that we want to talk about. Let's talk about that first one. The first one being that during promotion ceremonies, when a soldier is getting promoted, they have to change out the rank, right? It used to be on the collars back in the day, and then later when they changed to the current Army uniform and even the ACUs before that, or there's always been called ACUs, the Army Combat Uniform, but like the digital pattern and the OCPs all had the rank on the chest. Now, when we're swapping that rank out, there's a tradition that whoever usually is promoting the person is going to put that rank on and then probably give them a good little punch in the chest. That was even the case with the old rank on the collars. Now that one sucked more because there was these little pins on the back of it, so you had basically these sharp things going into your collarbone, and they would punch them down to hit it down into your chest, and that's where the term, if you ever heard of it, called like your, was it blood rank, or they have like the blood wings like for airborne and stuff like that, because it has the same kind of concept. But you know, you would hit them in and it sucked, but it's still, you know, maybe not as bad because it's just Velcro on there now, but you know, sometimes people punch pretty hard. The tradition usually will also go after the person like pins the person or puts the rank on that individual. You know, they give them a good punch, and then other people will come around and kind of congratulate that individual on getting promoted. And if you are like the same rank or a higher rank, then usually you will punch that person too. If you are lower ranking than that person though, you're not supposed to be punching them, at least. I don't know if there's units or people out there that do still do that, but typically the tradition goes, if you're the same rank or higher, you can punch them. Lower rank, you just congratulate the individual. Can this be hazing? I mean, kind of. It's all out of good fun. I mean, there are people that probably take it way too far and probably injure people, and that's not the goal. You don't want to injure someone. You shouldn't be like trying full force as hard as you can to punch them in the chest, kind of a thing. But some people do, and that's wrong, and that injures the person. That's not what we're looking for, right? Just have a little bit of good fun. Give them a good little punch to the chest, something that's gonna maybe, you know, push them back a little bit and, you know, not cause any injuries. Do we do it to the female soldiers too? Yeah, kind of. I mean, usually it's like a little bit softer of a hit, and sometimes you get females that get mad about that, and they'll be like, why'd you hit me softer than you did so-and-so, or whatever the case is, and that's kind of fun too, but still, usually, you know, the guys are a little bit lighter on the women. But yeah, I mean, it still kind of is a kind of a thing, you know, that people do, you know, just kind of a way to welcome to the new rank. Moving on to the next one, soldiers like to do weird things, and one of those is sometimes a mustache competition. Now, you may be familiar that they're pretty strict in the Army. As much as people want beards in the Army, it still hasn't happened as of yet, but the thing you can have when it comes to facial hair is a mustache. It's pretty restrictive as far as what kind of a mustache you can have, but you can have a mustache, I guess. Often the mustache competition usually happens like during deployment, especially like, you know, a combat deployment, maybe even a non-combat deployment as well, because, you know, you got nothing better to do, I guess. I don't know. Also, part of it is maybe your spouse isn't there, if you have one, to give you crap and saying, I don't like the mustache, shave it off, and they can kind of just do whatever, and you're still trying to stay motivated, having a little friendly competition. You're seeing who can grow the better mustache. So you gotta obviously still keep it within regs, but it's like a fun little thing that soldiers like to do. You might sometimes do it in the field sometimes too, maybe if the field deployment or the field problem is long enough, kind of a thing, but it's most common during deployments, and they'll have this little friendly competition to see who can grow the best mustache, who looks the best with the mustache, and all sorts of other parameters. Sometimes people kind of add into it and just have this fun little thing of a mustache competition, since that's really all we can do as far as facial hair in the United States Army, unless you got a shaving profile or religious exemption, or maybe one day they will allow beards, but who knows. Here's a fun one. This one is stealing the guidon. If you're not familiar with the guidon, it's like it's a flag. Okay, the easiest way to kind of explain it, right? You got a pole, you have a flag, and then usually have what are called streamers that come off of it that maybe represent, combat, achievements, for that unit. Maybe certain units might have like Top Gun kind of a thing, like for like tankers to do great on qualification, or even like scouts to do great on qualification, all sorts of things. And sometimes you'll have like this friendly little thing of maybe one company, one troop, one battery or whatever, stealing the other company's guidon. Sometimes maybe we live in platoons. That's not often does a lot of units have like platoon guidons. It's usually like company, troop, or battery type of guidons type of thing. And sometimes you have this little friendly thing of stealing the other company's guidon. Now, don't go just be like, oh, I heard that's a thing. I'm gonna go grab Bravo company's guidon and steal it because it'll be funny. Usually, it'll be a thing like maybe like your platoon sergeant, your first sergeant, they're having a fun little rival with the other first sergeant, the other commander for that one, and they might be like, hey, go grab that guidon. We're gonna hide it in our office, temporarily, and we'll give it back, and we'll just have a little fun with it. Not a thing to go and do and be like, hey guys, I'm gonna go steal that guidon, and we're gonna put it in the barracks and just hang on to it forever. It's usually, higher ranking individuals will go and grab one of the lower ranking individuals, tell them go steal it, have a little fun, mess with them a little bit, and then give it back to them, right? You don't want to jack it up and like set it on fire, keep it forever. You eventually give it back, have this little friendly competition kind of a thing, but you got to make sure that it's in a friendly kind of environment, because if it's out of malicious intent, you can still get in trouble for doing something like that. But you will have sometimes like some moments I've seen like in the field maybe, or certain other kind of environments where, the first sergeant's feeling a little malicious, and wants to mess with the other first sergeant. So you might get someone to go steal a guidon and then, maybe take some photos with them with that guidon, send them to that first sergeant, whatever, and then eventually give it back to them. Now, if you dig the shirt, well, I can tell you about how you can get one, because this video is sponsored by Grunt Style, and they have hooked you guys up with a great discount code. There is a reason why I have a lot of my videos that feature me wearing a Grunt Style shirt. This is the first time I have ever had a sponsorship with Grunt Style, but I have a lot of times worn the shirts because I love them. They have awesome shirts, have fun themes to them, they're good quality, and I genuinely like their shirts. They have hats, they've got hoodies, they've got all sorts of stuff. I have a good collection of Grunt Style shirts. I've got a hoodie, I now have this awesome hat, and you too can add to your collection and have some really cool shirts. I get it a lot of times in the comment section, people asking me, where do you get that shirt? Where is that shirt from? A lot of times it's from Grunt Style. And now if you visit the link down in the description box down below, you too can probably get that shirt that you've seen in some other videos. And even better, if you use the promo code Chaos Army when you go to checkout for your very first purchase, you can get not 10%, not even 20%, you can get 25% off, and it also helps support the channel. So now is a great time, if you have ever loved any of my shirts, to go check out the link down below, use that promo code Chaos Army for your very first purchase, get 25% off, and I did the math. If you really wanted to go and let's say get 4 Grunt Style shirts, basically you're only paying for 3 of them, and with that discount code, you're essentially getting that 4th one for free. So check out their link, check out Grunt Style, they're awesome. And I didn't even know this until recently, but some of the proceeds of you making purchases goes towards helping veterans and people getting out of the military and all sorts of other great things through their foundation. So check into that too, it's pretty cool. Now from there, let's move on to the next one, and that is pranking soldiers. Current day Army, they don't really want you to haze soldiers, and you shouldn't be hazing soldiers, but there is sometimes some friendly pranks that even still kind of go on that are just meaningless, harmless, out of good fun kind of things, and you've probably heard about some of them. Some really common ones, that we'll do, and it's like a tradition. You get a brand new private, you gotta kind of test them, see how gullible they are, see what they can handle, kind of bring them into the group and everything like that. So you'll do some harmless pranks, and a pretty common one might be trying to get them to go get like an exhaust sample. Obviously, there is no such thing as an exhaust sample, but you'll tell the soldier that, hey, we need it for our truck, so you give them a trash bag, have them go stick it over the muffler, catch some of that exhaust inside of it, maybe write something on it, and go try to turn it into maintenance. It doesn't hurt the soldier, it might be a little bit embarrassing, not all out of good fun kind of a thing, get a good little laugh out of it, and tell them, hey, welcome to the platoon, welcome to the group, whatever. There's a lot of other ones out there too. You know, checking the road wheels on a tank, checking the tank for soft spots by, you know, hitting it with a hammer. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of things that people do. Going to, you know, go get a box of grid squares. I don't know. I could probably name off quite a few, but there's a lot of things that are just harmless things. It might be a little bit embarrassing, but it's not going to cause any damage to the soldier, and maybe make them look a little bit funny, you know, to the person that maybe they're going to turn in the bag of exhaust, or they're going to ask someone for some grid squares. And sometimes the other person plays along and, you know, will send them on a little wild goose chase to kind of add to the fun. But, you know, it's all in good fun. But that's pretty common. You know, you get a brand new soldier, you want to see how gullible they are. Sometimes new privates don't fall for that shit because they've seen some videos, they've heard about it, whatever. But sometimes you do get people that are pretty gullible, and it's all in good fun. But they learn from it, and they're like, you know, maybe a little questioning the next time, you know, you have something that sounds a little crazy, and be like, you messing with me? Come on now. So it's just a fun little tradition, and we like to do that to kind of just, you know, welcome new soldiers to a unit. Another one is what is called the Grog, and maybe you've heard stories about the Grog, but let me tell you what is the Grog. The Grog is this crazy punch bowl at a Army ball, and other branches of service do this too, but I'm specifically talking about like my Army experience and the Grog with the Army kind of a thing. But it's basically just this punch bowl of alcohol and a lot of other crazy stuff in it. Let me give you an example of one of the ones that I actually participated in to contributing to the Grog and the ceremony that kind of went along with it. So for this particular Army ball that I went to, you had a bunch of soldiers that were in different style uniforms from different conflicts the United States Army had been a part of. You had a soldier in like a World War I, you know, uniform, a Vietnam uniform, and, you know, World War II, all sorts of things. Civil War, I think. Me, I played a role of a soldier from Desert Storm. So my role was I was wearing a Desert Storm style uniform, and I was dumping what was supposed to be sand into a punch bowl out of a canteen cup, but it was really actually brown sugar. And there's a lot of other items that might go in there. There's alcohol, there's items like maybe brown sugar, maybe some fruit, maybe some other items, but I've even heard of like crazy ones where people put like a sock that somebody took off of their boot and put it inside the punch bowl, and all sorts of other wild things. So sometimes it's food related items, sometimes it's other related items. It really just depends on what that unit's kind of doing with the story and what they're kind of contributing to that grog. But it's this crazy concoction of different alcohol and drinks and food items, and maybe sometimes some other weird random things. In fact, if I have some veterans out there that have experienced the grog, I want to hear some comments down below. Are there some items that you have seen go into the grog that are pretty crazy and wild? That's the only wild one I heard of. I wasn't at that ball, but I remember people telling me that so-and-so took their sock off and stuck it inside the grog. So the grog isn't going to taste good, even if there's not a sock inside of it. The concoction of all these different alcohol drinks and everything else that goes inside there probably makes this drink taste awful and horrible, but it's a traditional thing. And if you're attending that Army ball, you gotta take a drink from the grog, especially if you're of age. I don't think if you're not of age, then they probably don't want you to take a drink from the grog, obviously, because it contains alcohol. But you know, if you're of age, you gotta experience the grog at least once. But yeah, it doesn't taste very good, but it's an experience, and that's what it's all about. Now, the last and final one of a traditional thing is the challenge coin. I did a whole spiel video on it, and if you want, there's a card that probably pops up to check it out. But to talk a little bit about the challenge coin, let me give you some examples. So you have something such as a challenge coin, right? This is my challenge coin I have right here, and somebody higher ranking usually presents you with a challenge coin. You might have the first sergeant, might be the company commander, sergeant major, all sorts of possibilities. It's usually like first sergeant or commander or above, not usually platoon sergeants or anybody usually has their own challenge coins, usually higher ranking individuals. And if a soldier does something great, does something, you know, cool, whatever, then they might present them with a challenge coin. And the idea behind the whole kind of challenge coin is that a soldier usually sometimes might keep like their highest ranking challenge coin on them. Commonly, I've always heard it as a thing when you go out to the bar with your buddies. And so the tradition would be is that, you know, there might be a thing where they'd be like, all right, pull out your challenge coins, and they put their challenge coin down onto the bar, and whoever had the highest ranking, you know, coin wins, and maybe the other people have to buy that person a drink, or however you want to kind of play the game. I've heard of a lot of different iterations of it, but typically the highest ranking challenge coin is the winner usually. Now, I don't recommend probably playing with mine since I'm just a civilian now, I'm no longer in the Army, so Mine would get beat by every single military one, I guess, but it's a cool coin, I guess. You know, if you do happen to have the opportunity to meet me, maybe you can get a coin and score one. But, you know, it's a fun little tradition. I didn't really ever get to experience, you know, going to the bar and bring my challenge coin with me, but there's a lot of stories I've heard of people that would do that, and sometimes even just a fun little competition thing within, you know, your barracks room or whatever, of other people being like, let's see who's got the highest challenge coin or whatever kind of a thing. But it's a fun thing to collect. A lot of soldiers, you know, might have several, maybe only a few, whatever, but they're fun little things to collect that you can have a little story about as far as how you got that coin. If I was to play along, I do have a coin that I probably could kick some people's butts with, because I do have a coin from the Secretary of Defense, which would be a pretty hard one to beat out unless you happen to have a coin from the President, probably. So you don't want to play that game with me, because I'll kick your butt at it. Now, there's some other traditions, right? I'm sure there's plenty of people out there who can think of some other cool, crazy, wild traditions that people can think of that we do in the United States Army, and I want to hear about those in the comment section down below. So if you can think of things outside of my 6 that I added inside of here, I want to hear about them in the comment section. Let me know, what are some other crazy traditions that you have seen, heard of, done, whatever, that we do in the United States Army. Now, there are also some things that are pretty crazy that Army soldiers have to do, and if you want to learn about that, I have a video right here that you can kind of check out and see all about some crazy things that soldiers are required to do in the United States Army. Make sure you are checking out the links down in the description box, especially for that awesome discount code and the link and everything for Grunt Style to get 25% off. Thanks for watching, thanks for hanging out. I'm U.S. Army veteran Christopher Chaos, and I'll see you next time. See ya.